Hey guys, welcome back. Marty here again from LB Music. Today I want to do another short review of another device, which is a mobile recording device this time, and it's the Zoom H4N recorder, a handy recorder. And it's a pretty versatile unit. It has built-in microphones. You can also use external microphone like a lavalier microphone, TRS for example, and it has also dedicated inputs 1 and 2 for large diaphragm or small diaphragm microphones. Can also use phantom power 48 or 24 volts with it, and it's pretty easy to use. It also has a auto gain function. The menu itself is usable just with a wheel here that you can select all the different features. The headphone socket is pretty easy accessible, also the volume knobs, and same goes here for the SD card. Just open the small door and you can pop it out. And yeah, so let's go now through some of the features of it, and then we have a little bit of a sound recording to see how it actually sounds. Alright, and so here is the Zoom H4N now. Let's go quickly through all the options. Let's start here on this side. Got here a dedicated remote input where you can actually remote control the whole unit. You got the line out or headphone output for monitoring. Here is the volume knob plus minus. Here is the USB port where you can connect it to a computer if you don't want to slide out the SD card every time you want to exchange files. On and off button. On the other side, let's switch it around. Here is the actual SD card slot. Very easy to open. Here is the record button plus and minus again if you don't want to use the auto gain or the auto level function. It's very handy. You can just, when you hold it here, press negative and plus to set the different gain levels. Have here the menu knob and a scroll wheel to go through the actual menu itself. On the front we have a display, the indicators for stereo 4-channel and MTR recording mode. Then we have buttons for folder file, speed, and the WAV MP3 form. Then we have here the 3 input buttons for microphone and input 1 and 2. These are just the play, stop, and forward and backwards buttons, and the record button. When you press it one time you are in the monitoring mode, and when you press it another time you actually start recording. To the connections now itself, let's start here on the front. These are the built-in microphones, left and right. You can also use it in a mono mix, so they get collapsed to mono. You can change them in angle of 90 and 120, and they're actually built pretty sturdy. They have a metal casing, and on the back you have a external microphone, which is a 3.5mm TRS, like for a lavalier microphone for example. This is just a built-in speaker when you don't want to use headphones, just to check how the recording sounded. Here you have a clip or a hole where you can actually put it on a microphone stand or on a clip for your belt. And here is the battery tray, where I have just standard AA alkaline batteries in here. And at the bottom the actual inputs 1 and 2 for a external microphone, XLR, and of course 1/4 inch inputs. And yeah, so let's turn it on. So you can see a little intro here. So let's start here at the top. We have the timestamp. Here is the indicator for the battery, which you can see is now fully loaded. Then we got the sample rate here, which is in my case 48 and 24 bits, so 48,000 Hertz sample rate and 24 bits. It's a mono recording and WAV file. Here are the level meters. For example, when I press here now the rec button, and I use now the built-in microphones here, you can actually see the left and right meter moving, and they are moving in mono because I collapsed them into a mono mix, which I normally use when recording interviews. And then we got here SD card and how much it is, how much minutes are left on the SD card itself. Let's go quickly now through the menu. Engage it here with the menu button. You can see here folder, file, input, recording, tools, play mode, system, SD card, USB, and mode. So let's take some important ones here. For example, let's go to the input. You have a built-in low cut here that you can select for the inputs or for the built-in microphones. Let's just do it with the microphone here. For example, we have 80 Hertz and goes up all the way to 237 Hertz. Gonna check that out later. And then we got, for example, compressor and limiters. I usually use just the limit 3 here, which is named here Studio, but it hasn't actually to do anything with the Studio. It actually is, I think, around -3 dB. So every sound that exceeds -3 dB will get limited, which is actually kind of handy when you're in a live recording or in a field recording, so that your sound doesn't get distorted. Limit 2 and 1 are just other two limiters. I believe it's -6 and -12 or something like that. And the compressor that I don't actually use because I always do it in post-production, the vocal and the drum compressors are a little bit too heavy for example, interview recording. So I don't go with any limiter, with any compressor, so I just mainly use the limit 3 to prevent it from clipping if there is a very loud sound. Then this is just the monitor. Here is the 1 and 2 link is on, so when you have 1 and 2 inputs selected, you can collapse them to 1. Then you got auto level, for example, and with this you have to be really careful. I normally use just the standard manual function where I set the level here with plus and minus. When you use the auto level, it's actually pretty handy if you have sounds that are of the same volume or the same level, because the thing is, when you have a very loud sound, the level gets automatically reduced, so the gain. However, it doesn't go back up again. So if after the sound, if it's a very loud sound and afterwards it comes a very soft spoken voice or another sound, it will be very quiet because it doesn't get back to the normal level. So you have to be careful when you use the auto level here, and that's one reason why I always take or go with the manual leveling. Then mono mix is on, as I said before, because I'm doing interviews and use just the mono. You can also make an MS matrix mid-side. Here are phantom power options, 48 or 24 volts, which is pretty cool. Mainly used for the inputs 1 and 2 here. And here this plug-in has nothing to do with the DAW plugins or the other plugins. You know, it's actually for this connector here. When you have for example, a lavalier microphone, some use a little bit of power, and I believe it's around, when you switch it on, 2.5 or 3 volts. So don't quote me on that. You have to read it in the manual, but it's for this connector back here. And yeah, so that's that. Let's go quickly through the recording format here. I have now selected 48,000 Hertz 24-bit. Goes from 44.1 16-bit up to 96,000 Hertz 24-bit and in wave. And then you can also use different MP3 formats. It goes up to 320, I believe. Yep, there it is. And another MP3 version that I actually don't use. I always use here just the standard wave in 48 24-bit, which is actually the industry standard for video. You can also set auto rec to on, and every signal that exceeds 24 dB gets automatically recorded, and when it's under 24 dB it stops recording. Can use it, but if you have very quiet sources they won't get recorded then. Then you can also, these are just options like file name, you can set it to default or that it gets sorted after date, which is pretty handy. And now let's go quickly to the tools. You have here, for example, a tuner, built-in tuner, which is calibrated at 440 Hertz here in the standard. You can set it to chromatic. You have a guitar or a bass tuner. Looks then like that. And there are also different tunings like Open A, Open G, or DAT, for example. That's pretty cool. And then you can also select a metronome with a click, or you can select actually the sound of it. With a pre-count, you set the tempo in you want. So when you record different instruments and voices at the same time and you want to have the same tempo, for example, you can use the metronome in the monitor, which goes out to the headphones then, and you have the same tempo for all your instruments that you want to record. You can vary also the speed of your recording, so you can make it quicker. And yeah, that's basically it. There's just system information or system things that you can change. And I would say now let's actually test out how it sounds. I'm going to use the built-in microphones in mono and stereo, and then move then a little bit around that you can hear how the stereo image sounds. And then I'm going to connect a normal large diaphragm microphone with 48 volts power, and we're going to see how that sounds on this device. Alright, so now this is the built-in microphone test of the recorder. We're going to select the built-in microphone here, then we're going to hit record one time, which is actually the monitoring if you have headphones on. You can hear yourself then with the headphones, and we get a pretty good level around -20 up to -12, which is pretty good for voice. And then we're going to hit another time the record button, and this is now actually the voice that you hear with the Zoom built-in microphones, the Zoom H4N recorder. You have to be careful not to get too close to the microphones because they're very sensitive. And for example, when you use it outside or in a field recording and there's some wind or other hissy noises, you want to actually use a foam that you can put up in front of the microphones to prevent them from popping, or for example when you have a sharp voice with a lot of S's and Sh's, they kind of get a little bit hard there. And let's now switch to stereo recording, and I'm going to move a little bit around and you see how the stereo image sounds like. Okay, and to select the mono mix to make it to stereo, just simply press here the menu button, and there we go into input. Then we go all the way down to mono mix, which is set here to on, and we're gonna switch it to off. And when we press now the record button here for monitoring, you can see that the meters move independently. Alright, so now we have selected the stereo mix, and I'm gonna press again double time record, and now you hear again the Zoom recorder. And let me move a little bit on this side. You can hear it now in the other ear if you use, for example, headphones. And when you move around to the other side, it comes from the left side now. Alright, so this is the kind of stereo image. Can make really weird things with that, for example, like those ASMR recordings, and sounds, I think, pretty nice. And yeah, so that's the stereo recording. And now let's switch to a external microphone, large diaphragm microphone, and see how that works out. Alright, so as you can see, I set up my microphone, which is a pretty affordable AT2020 Audio-Technica, and here's the mic cable. Then we're gonna just insert it to the first input here. 48 volt is selected because it's a condenser microphone, and then we're gonna select the first input, and then when we hit the monitor button, so first time recording again, we have a pretty good level here. And we want to get that a little bit down, which should be sufficient enough of 80, for example. And let's hit record. And now you hear the AT2020 connected to the Zoom H4N recorder, you probably hear that it's quite different to the built-in microphone, and it's, I think, a very good sounding recorder. It doesn't color the sound very much, and it's pretty handy to use when you are in a mobile recording situation or in a field recording. And yeah, so this is the external microphone, and let's test now, for example here, a different filter, like a low cut. And let's engage a low cut pretty high, which is up to 320 here, 08237. And as you can hear, the bass is pretty much gone now. And let's switch it back off again. And here we go. So now you can hear all the bass frequencies back of my voice. And it's actually pretty good if you want to get any low-end rumble when you're in a mobile recording situation out of a recording. So you might want to go, for example, with a 80 Hz cut or a 100 Hz cut. Alright, so this is my review of the Zoom H4N recorder. I think it's a fine unit. It's very portable because you can have it everywhere, like in your pocket, or have it in your bag or your backpack. And the built-in microphones are pretty decent if you want to record a small venue, for example, with a minimum of equipment, and you can also do great demo recordings with it, for example. And yeah, as you have two inputs that you can also use independently, so you can use, for example, singer-songwriter with a guitar and a microphone for the voice independently. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos, and see you next time.